So I reckon it was 2019, I felt something pop in my ankle, was on crutches for 2 weeks in a boot, and just sort of said, if you rest, it'll work. And I was teaching at the time, and any of you who are teachers or know teachers will know that we don't do rest very well because our working patterns don't really allow for it. For me to not be in school, I have to plan and set work for 5 lessons a day. I still have to make sure all my paperwork's done. It's actually easier to get up, get dressed and go in and teach the lesson than it is to not. So I'm very fortunate that financially I could, and I paid for a taxi and I went into school and I taught for 2 weeks. And I had kids assigned at the start of each lesson to go pick up the ice packs from matron, and I sat with my foot up on a chair and I convinced myself that I was some sort of hero and martyr for going in and teaching these lessons. And you know what, maybe I was, but there's no reward for that sort of nonsense, and I could have just sat at home for 2 weeks and received my salary. Look, it wasn't in my nature, it's not in most teachers' natures, I don't think, to behave like that. But again, it's the start of that narrative of, look at me, I'm awesome. And suddenly you go, in hindsight, was that the best use of my time and my money? Was that really? And who was I doing it for? I was doing it for the kids, which meant I wasn't really doing it for myself. And I think that's something we all struggle with, that moment of, sometimes you have to put yourself first. So I guess that was my first stage. The rest helped, the crutches helped, rest in inverted commas helped, the crutches helped, and within a few months I was playing tennis. And within a year I ran backwards playing a tennis match and felt my Achilles pop, and this time it was a much bigger pop, and it was a big deal. So I was back in a boot. I did 3 months in a boot. Again, some sort of hero status, because once you get the boot on, suddenly everything feels so much more comfortable, right? It takes all the pressure off, you feel fantastic. We went down to Devon and I actually climbed a waterfall, because that's what you do. I did this big lovely waterfall walk up all these stairs with my foot in the boot. I did everything. There was not a day where I said, no, I'm going to stay at the hotel and put my feet up. I had 2 kids that I love and adore. It was a holiday. We've got dogs. We're like, let's go and do it. And in fact, we were even laughing the other night that there was a river to cross. So you sort of go up all these steps and up around the waterfall. But to get across to come out the main way, I had to cross a little river, little stepping stones in a river, and everyone takes their shoes off, and there I was taking my one shoe and sock off and then taking my big fat plastic boot off, and all these people are looking at me like, is she some sort of nut job? And at the time, again, you sort of think, no, I'm really cool, I'm not going to let this slow me down, look at me, I'm not going to let this slow me. And I guess there is actually a positivity in that. Could I have sat in the cafe and had tea and scones? Yes, but it's not in my nature. And I think that is, again, something you have to accept. It's not just about being a hero and pushing through, but it's about doing what you're comfortable with. And I think if I'd had to admit that I had to stop and I couldn't do, for me, that would have led towards a form of depression. To me, that would have made my life infinitely harder than having a gammy ankle that I had to ice at the end of the day. And again, that bought me time, right? I did wear the boot for 3 months. I did then go in and do physio for 3 months. And I did my exercises religiously. And I did exactly what I was told to do. And unfortunately, it just didn't help. But I did it, and it bought me time. It got me time to get my sons that little bit older, that little bit more dependent, Jack to get a little bit healthier than he was. COVID, most of you will know, has hit us pretty hard in this house. And so it did get me all that time. Anyway, I got to December 21, and my fabulous ankle surgeon finally turned around and said, look, Sam, I think you're going to have to bite the bullet. You need to have this surgery done. It's not major surgery, but you're not going to be able to drive for 3-4 weeks. And I think we need to get in there and we need to fix it. And initially I said yes. And then I got to January and went, oh God, I don't want to do this. And actually, I'm going to tell you the next section in the next video, because it's got a funny story all of its own.